Perfect. Exactly where I wanted to catch him. That's a nice big grayling. Oh! That is a trophy of the day. The males, that's probably a female. That's a little bit smaller fin. You know, grayling are interesting fish. In the United States, the grayling are quite small, less than 2 pounds. In Alaska, they're, again, up to about 2 pounds. It's really a big one. And other places like British Columbia that I fished are again, say that 2 pound size is a pretty big fish. But here there's 3 and 4 pound fish, pretty common. This is actually, I think it's the largest grayling fishery as far as size-wise in the whole world. The Kazan River, what a gorgeous river. You know, it flows from Lake Casbar, which is right actually in the Northwest Territories, and it flows into the newly formed Nunavut Territories, which is a couple times bigger than the state of Alaska. And it flows some 500 miles from Lake Casbar to the Hudson Bay. Now, on its journey to the sea, this scenic river crosses many rapids, and it's here in this white water that we found today's quarry, the beautiful Arctic Grayling. The Kazan River is known as a world-class Arctic grayling fishery. And my guide, Brent Garland, believes he can put me on a trophy-sized grayling today. With 4 pound line and ultralight tackle, today's fishing should be exciting. And if Lady Luck is with us, I even may have the opportunity to catch a trophy grayling on my favorite technique, fly fishing.
There's one. Get right off the bat. Okay, tighten this back up. I'm using a little spinner now. A little bit different deal. See what happens on this one. Okay. Keep the drag adjusted just right. Can't let them take a long run. Okay. Okay. I'm right up behind them. There we go, boys. Just barely out of the water. Spinner's right there available. Okay, that's going to be a beautiful fish for catch and release. They've taken these hooks and made them barbless, and that's one of the requirements for fishing here on the river with the Casbah Lodge. They want to do a catch and release. That's just a 2 pounder there. Uh-oh, he was going to show the fin. And the characteristic morphologic feature of the grayling, the Arctic grayling, is the high dorsal fin that occupies at least half of the top of the fish. And so we'll show you that in a second. They're really gorgeous. And actually, when they're fighting in the water, that large elongated fin is kind of blue. Really a gorgeous fish. Okay. Same deal. So right back over there. The Kazan River is really a huge river. It flows out of the Hudson Bay through Baker Lake and some 500 miles to where we are right now. This is the headwaters. Lake Casbah is the actual headwaters of the Kazan River. It's a monstrous river. One part of the Kazan River has a 150-foot waterfall. Now, this spinner combination I just caught that last fish on is nothing more than just a little zero-size spinner with the barbs cut off. It's about a number 7 split shot. Okay, about a foot up the line. 4 pound test line. I'm going to make a long cast, cross current, engage my reel, get the slack up, just kind of hold up while it just makes its sweep. Seems like all the fish are up really in the faster white water. Once it gets down in the deeper water, I haven't had a strike. Not to say they're not there. Maybe we're just not getting deep enough. All the fish we've had have been just right behind that big rock with all the white water on it. You know, when you look at all this massive area, you don't really appreciate its magnitude until you look at the entire map of the North American continent. And you realize that the Northwest Territories, which are the size of Alaska is 2.5 times bigger than the state of Texas. But just half the lake is in the Northwest Territories, and the other half of the lake is in the Nunavut Territories, which is 2.5 times larger than the Northwest Territories, which gives you a total land size of all this Northwest Territories and Nunavut Territories 10 times larger than the state of Texas. Son, that's a big area. Another one, another fish. I don't know how big he is. We'll find out. He is a little bigger. I think we have a larger fish here, boys.
Okay.
Yeah, a little bit bigger fish. A little bit bigger fish. Adjust that drag. Keep the drag adjusted just right. Okay. Coming around this way. Seems like it's a little bit bigger fish. See if we can't see that nice blue top dorsal fin. Get an idea of the makeup of these fish. Oh yeah, look at that. Look at that big fin now. You see it so clear. Big fin right on top of the water. Right on top of the water, that big giant fin. So pretty. There, that's a nice one there. Boy, that's a good one. Okay, try to release him. To be caught again another day. Surgically remove that fish. Okay, this looks like a male. Or no, let's see, the males have the bigger fin, right? The
Yeah,
males,
right,
that's
Roy.
probably a female.
Yeah,
That's a
a
little
young
bit smaller
female.
fin. Okay.
We'll let her go.
Yeah. Okay, a little bit smaller fin. We'll get a big old female here in a minute, about 3 or 4 pounds. We'll show you a trophy. There are trophy fish here. This is, remember, a Hudson Bay drainage. This river, the Kazan River, flows from here some 500 miles back into the Hudson Bay. And that's really the home of all the really big Arctic Grayling, is the Hudson Bay drainage. About 15 years ago, I went to a Canadian lake called Loch LaCroix, and I met old Charlie Brewer. He was the guy that invented the slider worm technique. And he introduced me to the finer points of ultralight fishing. Now, Charlie liked to fish both 4 and 6 pound test line on little bitty worms with little bitty jig heads, and he'd swim them from the rocky banks and catch monster smallmouth, 5 and even 6 pounds, just huge fish. Unfortunately, Charlie died this last year, and we miss him a lot. But his legacy lives on with his ultralight approach, particularly with his slider worm approach. And that's basically what I did today. I fished a lot of jigs and a lot of little small spinners, the same basic type of tackle, but caught big fish. There he is. Another one. I don't know how big he is. Oh, small. Small fish. Just a little one. Not quite as big. That other fish was about 3 pounds. Just a little one there, boys. Yeah, little spinner's working pretty good. We've had several strikes on that.
Yeah, the spinner seems to be turning them on.
Yeah, really is.
This morning.
Okay. Oh, boy, they're slimy and hard to hold.
Oh, yeah, they're probably one of the hardest fishes you've ever...
Yeah. Oh, that was a good release. He was trying to let it back in the water a little bit more gentle, but he made a jump.
Yeah, we'll just keep catching them, and we'll get one of those will finally work.
A little 0 spinner, a little number 7 split shot, 4 pound test line, and I'm throwing right to the base of that really swift water right over there, right about there. Getting the line tight, slow reel. Now, aren't these boats and motors a sight? You know, I've made an interesting observation these last couple of years. I was in the jungles of Brazil, and now here at Casba Lake, some 8,000 to 10,000 miles away. Both places so remote that they need the most dependable outboard in the world. Both places ran Mercuries. What does that tell you? You know, I'm a pattern fisherman, and by pattern fishing, I mean it's that same set of water and cover conditions that are attracting fish to that spot and other similar spots. So as I look at these rapids, and we've caught a fish behind that particular shallow rock, in that particular depth water, I need to look across the face of these rapids and spot other rocks. I see some down there. I see another couple rocks just a little bit farther. So that's the right location, probably the right water depth, probably the right water current. That's part of the pattern. And then the last thing about a pattern, of course, is to either match the hatch with the right kind of lure or just change around. And, you know, there's some lures that don't match the hatch. Like, why does a spinnerbait catch a bass? There's nothing that swims in the water that looks like a spinnerbait, but yet it's more of a reaction strike, and it's part of establishing a pattern. So you have to try to change your lures a lot, change your locations a lot, but when you do catch a fish, try to analyze the exact set of water and cover conditions that are holding those fish. And that's what we're trying to do here with the grayling. Same thing as that. Here's a grayling, I think. It's a grayling. Feels pretty good. Might be a lake trout. Feels like a pretty good fish.
Oh, nice grayling.
Oh, boy, that's a big one. Look at that size of that grayling.
That is a big grayling.
Big grayling, folks. That is what we're talking about. That's a really big one. That is a trophy of the day. Huge grayling. Look at the size of that fin. That looks like a big male. Look at that big blue iridescent fin. Oh, boy. Wow, look at that one. Now, that's what it's all about, folks. Look at this grayling. Whew. How big is that one?
Oh, I'd estimate that about 3 pounds.
3 pounds. Wow, that's a nice one. Okay, that is such a gorgeous fish. Can't hold them in the mouth, can you?
No.
Beautiful. Look at all the blue. Look at the iridescence of the blue. That's a big male.
Yeah,
that's a great big giant male with a huge giant iridescent fin with a orange border and blue spots. It's just a gorgeous fish. That is really, really pretty. Now, if I were to mount that fish, I'd not want to keep the fish. I'd rather get a replica mount. That's probably the largest grayling I've caught to this point. It's a little over 3 pounds. We'll try to catch another big one. That is a trophy. Now, 3-pound grayling are in world-class size. That's what we're talking about. That's a big, big grayling. So, that hit a spinner. You know, really, fly fishing is not the most efficient way to fish. By far. If you wanted the most efficient way to fish, I guess you'd use a net. And I fish tournaments, and I fish bass tournaments. We don't use fly equipment for tournaments, unfortunately. But fly fishing is the most fun, and it's probably the most challenging, and it's probably the most difficult. But when you think of trophies, you think of challenging and difficult things, and that's why I fly fish.
Couple of minute lesson on how you can get out into water like this, catch these beautiful graylings without a whole lot of fly fishing experience. First thing you want to do is be able to get your line in the air behind you. Look behind, make sure you have no trees or structure. Bring your rod back, your line behind you, back over your head. It's just back and forth motion, stopping the rod in between. That loads the rod so that the line will carry in the air and throw it in the water. Then reach down with your line hand, put the line under the fingers of your rod hand. That is now a drag. Strip from behind those fingers, and as you're stripping your line in, of course, you're hoping that the fish is going to strike. If it doesn't, when you're ready to pick up your line to make your cast, remove the line from these fingers, holding it with this hand. Again, bring your rod back, forward, back. One cast should put all your line back out in the water. Secret to a false cast with a fly rod is don't bend your wrist. See how straight I'm keeping my wrist? I'm leaving the rod as one long extension to this arm. So when I come back, it's allowing the weight of the line to pull that rod tip. That does what we call loading the rod. That's what makes the line go out for you.
Oh, that is a beautiful grayling.
That's what it's all about. Big, huge grayling. That is probably the biggest one of the day. Wow, it's over 3 pounds. Big, giant grayling. Look at the size of him. Woo, son. Look at the size of that grayling. That is so kind of pretty. Still not a record fish. It's a record fish in these waters are closer to 5 pounds. And for me, it's probably one of my biggest ever. Look. Okay. This is something. Ultralight fishing for lake trout and grayling. And then, of course, these fly rod fish are just scrumptious. This territory up here, you know, what turns me on in fishing is the unexpected and checking out new areas and fishing new waters like this. I'm not exactly a world-class fisherman. I don't get all over the world, but I try the North American continent as much as I can. Oh, gosh, that's a nice one, Brent.
Yeah, it sure is. Beautiful fish.
That's over 3 pounds.
Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful grayling.
Yeah, that's a beautiful fish.
Oh, that's absolutely.
I'll let her go.
Okay.
Yeah, right there. Just let her sink down. You work it. He's coming.
comes,
He's
here he
looking.
comes, here he comes.
There, he's got it.
You got it? You
Yeah.
got it. You got it. Big old pike on a fly. Yes, I love it. Big old pike on a fly. Yes, I love it. This is fun. Yeah. I got this little bitty fly rod. It's not much of a fly rod. It's just a little bitty thing. It's a little 5-weight. I do have a little steel leader on here. So that's kind of cool. Well, this is a change. You know, right here on the Kazan River, you have not only the grayling and the lake trout, but you have a few pike, don't you? That's pretty neat. That's a pretty neat deal. What I did, I put a steel leader on this one.
That's a good way to finish the day up here when you're waiting for the plane to come.
That's a fun deal. I put some heavier leader on here, and I put a steel leader on. Let's see. Again, I'm using that little 5-weight Fenwick rod that I've been using all day. And he's a pretty feisty little pike.
You will just get this little boy off here.
Okay.
There,
That's
nice
really neat
release.
deal. Now what we have here is I have a little steel leader on Brent's fly, and I've tied a section of 30-pound steel leader, and then I have some 14-pound line just to my fly line. There's nothing like a well-balanced fly outfit. I really messed up today, though, because this is my favorite fly outfit. This is my really great 5-weight Fenwick rod and reel. Quality equipment, except I left my reel on the float plane today. I had to get by with an old loaner reel. I felt bad about it. I did have the right rod, but the main thing is I had the right line, I had the right rod, and I was able to make really nice casts to those grayling. And with the size tackle I had, 4-pound tippet, really a lot of fun. Oh, I see the plane. I think it's time to go. Coming in for a landing. Well, I'll try to catch one more pike while I'm waiting. Oh, made a bad cast. Here comes the plane now. Look at it, it's about ready to touch down. That's our plane. Come on, boys. Well, that's the day. But what a day. Time to go home, folks. A little bit of visual action on these big pike at the Kazan River for the lake trout and mainly the big, giant, trophy-sized grayling. It can't be beat. I can hardly wait to come back again next year. We'll see you again next week.